Game Pass offers hundreds of games, and with more being added every single month, it can be a lot to know where to begin. But don't worry, in this video, we're going to go over what's new and some gems worth checking out on the Microsoft service. Joining Xbox Game Pass as a day one release is Immortality. Immortality focuses on Marissa Marcel, a would-be star whose fame was short-lived due to her mysterious disappearance. It's up to you to discover what happened to Marissa Marcel by reviewing lost footage, interviews, and scenes from 3 never-released films she starred in. By scrolling through archives of film, you can click on specific items or actors that will then link you to other clips or even behind-the-scenes footage to explore and meticulously dissect. It does a remarkable job of recreating the aesthetic of several eras of film and television, which is an added plus for film buffs or anyone who is a sucker for those looks of the past, which I am one of them. Immortality comes from the mind of Sam Barlow, the writer and director behind Her Story and Telling Lies, 2 games that are also on Game Pass, and Her Story comes with a high recommendation from me personally. Midnight Fight Express is an unrelenting dance of violence akin to movies like The Raid Redemption, wrapped up in an isometric non-stop brawler. You play as Babyface, a former member of the criminal underworld who is dragged back in as a vigilante on a one-night journey to stop a city-wide criminal takeover. Combat is similar to the Batman Arkham games, pitting you against several enemies at once, requiring you to dodge attacks happening on all sides and switching opponents off the cuff with violent fluidity. But it's not all hand-to-hand combat. You'll be cycling through an array of weapons and guns to clear out the relentless waves of baddies. As the game progresses, your attacks will grow and become more complex, giving use to a rope that pulls enemies towards you or a single-shot revolver that has a different variety of bullet types. The game also encourages replayability due to short and punchy levels with a fun point-ranking system that'll have you competing against your own score and creativity in the fight. Nintendo hasn't said a word about a new Pikmin in years, so Tinykin is taking the reins on filling a much-needed gap in the fairly untouched genre of wrangling together herds of mysterious little creatures and making them do your bidding like carrying stuff. You play as Milo, who lands on Earth and, to his perspective, everything is massive. Thankfully, Milo comes across Tinykin, which are willingly ready for Milo's command to move big stuff, create ladders, bridges, and more. In Pikmin-like fashion, Tinykins vary in types, ranging with characteristics like being explosive or conducting electrical currents. Unlike Pikmin, however, Tinykin features platforming elements and a larger emphasis on traversing its environment. So contrary to Olimar, Milo can jump, ride on a bar of soap, or use bubbles to float around. It's also got the same kind of tiny person in a massive and familiar environment like a living or bedroom, a la Katamari Damacy or Toy Commander for the Dreamcast. Pair that up with an interesting combination of 2D animation in a big ol' 3D environment, and Tinykin is shaping up to be a really cool addition to a Pikmin-like while setting the stage for its own distinct identity. The mythological adventure Immortals Fenyx Rising is now on Game Pass. This was one of the first big Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild likes that came out full swing from Ubisoft, but unlike Breath of the Wild, had a stronger emphasis on combat with full-fledged voice acting and cutscenes, making it an interesting companion for those who weren't crazy about Breath of the Wild's combat and lack of an apparent story, depending on who you ask. It's certainly a more Ubisoft approach, fit with waypoints to keep you on track, with a more overtly comedic, sometimes fourth-wall breaking tone. But now, just 2 years after its release, it's here to play. So maybe you've been sleeping on it, or you're just looking to scratch that Breath of the Wild itch, or maybe you've never even played Breath of the Wild, then now's your chance to try something in a similar vein with Immortals Fenyx Rising. Alright, now for something super chill. Coffee Talk is a slice-of-life game that puts you in the shoes of a barista making drinks for the mystical and fantastical patrons that come into your rainy Seattle coffee shop. And I mean fantastical. I'm talking elves, a succubus, and aliens. But instead, as their barista, you get a lens into the rather humane, even sometimes monotonous lives of these mystical characters. All of which is set to a cool and calm lo-fi jazzy soundtrack. In between conversations, you'll be making special drinks and swinging some cool latte art. It's kind of a cool way to detach you, the player, from the agency we tend to have in other games, and instead, we get to watch several stories unravel before us, all within the confines of a single setting in a coffee shop. But you're not entirely removed from it, as you'll often have dialogue choices that branch conversations in different directions with different outcomes. As someone who comes from a lineage in customer service and often took interest in my patrons' lives, playing this wasn't just cozy for the music and the coffee, but the reminder of people's lives and stories that exist beyond our own. But maybe you're not into making coffee for people. Maybe you don't even want to talk to customers. Maybe you already have a barista gig and you need another form of escapism. Or maybe you're ready to explore your dreams of being a revered chef. Well, then Cooking Simulator sounds like the right game for you. Cooking Simulator sets you loose in realistic kitchens equipped with utensils, stands, pots, and pans, filled to the brim with ingredients and everything else you'll need to cook with, including real-life physics. Using over 120 ingredients, you'll have 60 recipes to master, which will require you to utilize knives, spatulas, ovens, and blenders. And of course, don't forget the seasonings. The game is so realistic that you can potentially start a fire, but don't worry, what would a kitchen be if not equipped with a fire extinguisher? Or screw it, you can just chuck knives around because why not? It's your kitchen after all. Who knows, maybe you'll take what you've learned here and make your mom, who you've neglected texting for a few weeks now, something really special on her birthday to make up for, which is exactly something I'm considering doing. Yeah. And while we're on the topic of simulation, the follow-up to the highly regarded 2 Point Hospital is here with 2 Point Campus. This time you'll be building your own university. Take all of that college baggage of yours, the wishful thinking of your dream educational scenario, and put it to the test. Like creating your own sports team who fling cheese, or wizardry classes, or a course on vampirism, clowns, spy school, whatever you want it to be. Make the school you wish you could have attended. Or maybe you just want to get carried away with the plant detail, the sidewalk layout, or maybe you just want to make a monstrosity, a symbolic metaphor for the realities of the college educational system. You can do that too. That said, the first installment, 2 Point Hospital, is also available on Game Pass. So if education isn't your bag and you're more interested in creating your dream hospital, well, that's an option too. Alright, that's August for Game Pass, but be on the lookout over the next couple weeks or months. There's some games I'm personally excited to try that'll be coming to the service, like Proteus and Signalis. Thankfully, we have plenty to hold us over until then, like cinematic mysteries such as Immortality, or violent action ROMs like Midnight Fight Express. Make sure to let me know if you've tried any of these out and what you thought of them in the comments below. And remember, this is a good time to just try things you otherwise wouldn't have considered, because why not? Alright, till next time, see you later.